Hey everyone, welcome to Discover the OC. I'm Jules Wilson, your host and realtor here at Seven Gables Real Estate. Listen, I'm always working really hard to bring you value and new knowledge to help make your life better. And today I have on with me Jonathan Treussard. Now, Jonathan is the founder of Treussard Capital Management. Now listen, there's a lot of wealth managers, especially here in Newport Beach. Let's call it like it is, Jonathan.
That is the truth.
But the reason I wanted to bring you on today is there's so many things about you that are truly, my friends, really unique and offer so much extra value when it comes to managing your money. So Jonathan, tell us a little bit, and you have a PhD.
I do.
I don't know any wealth manager who have a PhD, so give us just a 2-minute story of how you got there.
Well, very simple. First and foremost, I was born in Paris. I moved to the US. I moved to LA to be a musician. And I drifted into school. I ended up going to UCLA, and I fell in love with economics. We were talking before starting the recording about the value of mentors, and I had an incredible mentor at UCLA who basically looked at me as a young man and said, "You seem to be really curious, but you just don't really know how to think about the world. So how about you study economics?" And I just fell in love with it. I thought I'd be a professor. I ended up moving to Boston to get my doctorate in economics. And yet again, the great fortune of mentors, I met a mentor who has since become my father-in-law, so it gets pretty personal.
I didn't know that part.
I know. Who said, look, everything you like about economics, which is really about making decisions under uncertainty.
Yes, I love that.
When you don't know what's going to happen next, everything you like about economics in the real world, we call it investing.
Yeah.
So why don't you do that? And I learned a huge amount from him and from other people in Boston, people that really started the science of financial economics. And I got my doctorate at a very interesting time. It was 2008.
Oh, wow.
And I happened to...
You didn't drop out of school at that time?
No. And it was fabulous. I moved to New York. I worked for the Ziff family in risk management, in investment strategy, at a time where, you know, the world was on fire and there was everything to do.
Right.
So
if you can survive in that world as a wealth manager, you can survive, right?
Precisely right. So
well,
that's been kind of the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, thank you. The other thing I love about you is, and I learned something really pivotal before we started this, Jonathan, when you told me there's wealth advisors that work under a suitability umbrella.
Yeah.
There's others that work under a fiduciary umbrella.
Correct.
That was fascinating to me. So explain the difference.
And again, if you're going to work with somebody, I would encourage you to work with someone who's a fiduciary. And the difference between a wealth manager that operates as a fiduciary and status and one that operates under suitability is very simple. Fiduciary basically cuts to, is everything you do in the best interest of the client? Not the second best interest, the best interest of the client. Under suitability, all you have to do is be able to twist yourself into a pretzel and be able to say there might be a scenario where this is suitable for the client. Which of course opens a lot of gray.
Right.
And so that's a radically, it's a radical distinction that's worth looking into if you already have somebody, if you're interested in working with somebody, is the person who is helping you with, your assets.
Right.
Truly working in your best interest.
So who has to operate as a fiduciary? Who's okay working with suitability? What type of firms?
At a very high level, there are registered investment advisors, independent registered investment...
Like you?
Like me. And by law, by regulatory status, we have to operate as fiduciaries.
Okay.
When you are a broker-dealer, kind of an old stockbroker, if you will, or kind of the descendants of that tradition, private banks, so on and so forth, the status very quickly devolves, for lack of a better, to suitability.
I have no idea. Yeah. So that changed, no negativity, of course, but that's a totally different mindset.
Just know who you're dealing with.
Right, and the personal relationship, right?
Correct.
See, to me, I've said so many times before, John, the relationships are everything, right?
It really is.
And you can have no disrespect to private bankers, but it's a different relationship, right?
It's a different relationship.
Yeah.
I think it's, there are a couple things. There is the economics, the incentives of it all.
Right.
And when you work with a boutique firm like my own, I think it's fair to say you're the client. Often when you work with a larger organization, and again, private banks and private wealth, very quickly fits into that bucket.
Right.
ask yourself, do I feel like I'm the client or do I feel like I'm the product?
Yeah.
Am I, kind of a source of commissions? I mean, it's not that complicated.
Right.
And the other part of it is, does the person on the other side really care? I mean, we were talking about some of your clients.
Yes.
And you know them, and you know their dog's name, and you know their life's history, and that's just a radically different experience. Where when you make a decision, that decision really lives in the kind of holistic reality of your life.
Yeah. Well, one thing I love about Jonathan, so here's why I think you're the perfect wealth manager, truly.
Oh, thank you.
Well, truly, I'm not trying to compliment you. I only say it like I see it. You've worked in the family office field. You've worked in the institutional firm field, so to speak, that arena, and now you're the private wealth manager. So if I'm not wrong, you've taken all that knowledge and brought it to your own boutique firm.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Again, in addition to my education as a doctor in economics, I've worked for very large family offices in New York and California. I've worked as head of product and partner at a firm locally, Research Affiliates, which works very closely with PIMCO. Research Affiliates is about $150 billion of assets around the world.
Right.
And I've learned so much about, again, think about the incentives of when a firm launches a mutual fund or when a firm launches an ETF. How are they thinking about it?
Yeah.
What's driving them? Is it empowering investors or is it gathering a little bit more assets?
You only answer to your clients.
I only do.
Plain and simple.
Period.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I love about Jonathan, you're married, you have 2 girls.
I
so
do.
You're a family man first. And so I think you
and we have a dog. So technically I am the father to 3.
Yeah, you just got higher up on my because you love dogs. But I know that about you, that it's family first.
Yeah.
And with your clients, you want them to do well as you want your own self to do well, right?
Correct.
So we all have a vested interest in each other's success, right, Jonathan?
That's right.
The other thing is your client base. Now, for those who I'm sure are interested in hearing about you, as you speak now about your experience, your knowledge, your education, being a family man, really caring about your clients, how much money do I need to work with you? Let's just call it like it is.
Look, the reality is, again, I think about what's in people's best interest from the start. And the reality of it is, if you have, significant assets, but ultimately not a huge amount of wealth relative to the world that we live in,
right?
$500,000, $1 million in liquid assets. The reality is, keep it simple, keep it low cost. Open an account at a Vanguard, open an account at a Schwab, and it really is about maximizing the value of your dollars, which over the fullness of time accounts for costs and all of that.
Okay.
For people that have greater resources, the burden of decision making becomes greater.
Right.
The stakes are higher.
Of course.
The truth is the complexity. The degrees of freedom, which way to go. And so all of a sudden you say, well, would it be helpful to me to have someone like Jonathan on my side?
Right.
And that really is kind of the threshold.
I know you've dealt with billionaires too.
Right.
Not that everyone has to be a billionaire.
Yeah, and look, I think here's a simple bookend. If you have less than $1 million, keep it simple, keep it low cost. If you're a billionaire, the good news is you have your own investment staff.
Yeah,
you don't need me, it's great. I used to be one of these people.
Yeah.
But there are people in the middle that deserve, that need, honestly, that would benefit from what I would call almost like a virtual family office experience.
Oh, I like that way. That's a good way of visualizing
and so
it.
it's not, it's not a family office in that it's not like you have investment people and attorneys and accountants and all of these people kind of living within the same organization.
Right.
But it's helpful to have true professionals in every seat and people that communicate with one another.
Okay.
I want to know what the estate person is thinking. I want to know what the tax person is thinking so that we can all
work together. I love that. And listen, we'd all like to think we have a family office. Kind of makes us feel good. Okay, so can you imagine he just recommended where to go if you have under $1 million? That shows your integrity right there, Jonathan. I mean, truthfully, you really want to help people. So if you have a couple million or more, they're your client. You're right. That's one of your areas of expertise. your own little, and I love how the fact that you're a boutique firm here. You're in Newport, right?
I am.
Your office is right behind Fletcher Jones.
Correct.
Right? So I also know that you care so much about the community and really customers or clients, whether they can afford you or not. You have a newsletter you put out?
I do.
What's that?
Again, look, I think of people as living on a spectrum. Some people want to explore a relationship with me and you know, whether we could be a good match. And then some people say, well, I like to do it myself. And in that regard, I say, look, if I can share, look, I think about the economy, I think about financial markets all day long, sometimes through the night. And so I have a newsletter that I put out, you know, once or twice a month.
Okay.
I don't want it to be overwhelming to people.
Right.
But it is a way to share my thinking. I do it, you know, we've talked about working for big organizations and then having my own boutique firm. One of the distinct privileges of being me is I now get to write, I get to speak, I get to communicate in a very authentic manner.
I love
so
that.
when you read my newsletter, I think you'll hear my voice. That's at least what people say.
Yeah.
And so as far as that's concerned, you can go to my website, sign up for the newsletter. It's Treussard.com, TREUSSARD.com/subscribe.
Okay.
And the subscribe box, or whatever you call it, is at the bottom of every page anyway. And that's one way to just continue having a conversation about the markets and the economy.
Right, because you never know. You also might win the lottery tomorrow and have 10 million. And we really need you then. Well, listen, I'm always looking for people that I trust and I can recommend to you. And I know we both live in Newport Beach.
We do.
So if something were to ever go wrong, I know where he lives. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Once again, we all have a vested interest in each other's success. So how can people get a hold of you directly, Jonathan?
Sure. 3 ways to kind of very quickly get to it. Again, website is the main place, the main hub. Treussard.com, TREUSSARD.com. My email address is jonathan@treussard.com, Jonathan being JONATHAN @treussard.com. And my phone number is 949-776-9696. You can call me, you can text me. And I look forward to, you know, being helpful in all the ways that I can be helpful.
Well, Jonathan, once again, thank you so much I learned a lot about fiduciary versus suitability, and give Jonathan a call. I think the most important thing is relationships and working with those you can trust. So thank you so much, and contact Jonathan if he can help you.